Therapists. What made you realize you were treating a sociopath? I used to work in a residential group home for kids under 12 with severe behavior problems and psychiatric issues. I was a floor staffer while in college, mostly doing direct care. A lot of our kids had diagnoses like oppositional defiant disorder or PTSD, but a few had more extreme ones, including antisocial personality disorder. I always took those with a grain of salt. That diagnosis for a kid, it didn't sit right with me. Until I met Liam. Liam was 6 years old, big brown eyes, curly hair, sweet smile, perfectly behaved. When we first got him, we figured he was just on his honeymoon period, a phase a lot of kids went through where they seemed fine for a few weeks or months. Then the issues that got them placed with us started surfacing. We waited and waited, but Liam stayed perfect. 8 months. That's how long his honeymoon lasted. We didn't know why he was even in our care. No documented violent incidents, no major outbursts. His mom was in prison, his dad was out of the picture, and foster care hadn't worked out. That's all we knew. He was just quiet, cooperative, polite, loved arts and crafts. Some of the staff joked that he must have slipped into our intake by accident. And then, one spring day, we took the kids outside to ride bikes. Liam ran out the door ahead of the group, straight to the corner of the backyard near the windows to the boys' bedrooms. I was wrangling helmets and didn't notice right away. By the time I caught up, he was standing there with something in his hands. A kitten, limp, blood smeared on his fingers. He had crushed its head. The kittens lived under a bush near the window. He must have watched them for weeks. Waited. I herded the other kids back inside and went straight to our facilities manager. Liam followed, calm as ever. I told the manager what happened, and Liam blinked at me like I'd lost my mind. "What kitten?" he asked. I didn't see anything. He even looked scared. The manager hesitated. I had to walk back out, find the kitten, and bring it inside. Liam watched me carry the body, then looked me right in the eyes and smiled. That was the first moment I knew something was deeply wrong. From then on, Liam became a different kid. Not loud, not angry, but calculating. He started doing little things, poking kids, hiding their things, whispering cruel stuff just out of earshot. He once told another boy that his mom died, and that's why she didn't visit. The kid cried for hours. She was alive, just working 2 jobs. He began provoking staff on purpose. The protocol at our home was that if a kid became violent, they'd be placed in a restraint for 30 minutes. If they weren't calm after that, the nurse would administer a sedative, Benadryl usually. Liam loved those. He told one of the nurses it was his goal to get one every day. He'd lash out during meals or scream and throw things in the classroom. Then, like clockwork, he'd go limp the second he was restrained and wait for his shot. He even started asking for it directly. "I need my needle," he'd say. Once, during a restraint escort, he cut his foot badly. Not on purpose, we don't think. He just caught it on the doorframe. But when we brought the nurse, he sat there giggling, digging at the cut with his fingers, smearing the blood on the wall. The scariest part was how aware he was. He knew exactly how far to push, just enough to disturb, just enough to hurt, never enough to get removed until he had grandparents who visited sometimes. The other kids were jealous. Liam would pretend not to know them. He'd shrug and act confused. Later, he'd whisper to the other boys that they must be worthless since no one came for them. It was like a game. When I left that job, Liam gave me a drawing, a stick figure labeled with my name. The mouth was an X. The eyes were scribbled out completely. I asked him why he drew it that way. "You don't deserve eyes because I don't like it when you see me," he said. "You don't deserve a mouth because you say things I don't like." That was the last thing he said to me. I still work with kids in psychiatric and residential care. I've worked with hundreds. Kids with schizophrenia, trauma, violent pasts, everything. I love the work. I love the kids. But I still think about Liam. I still remember that smile after the kitten, the sound of his voice when he asked for his needle, the way he always knew exactly what he was doing. A few months after I left, they transferred him to a more secure facility. I heard later, through a former coworker, that his mom had gotten clean and taken him back, that he was doing better, that he even came back once to speak to the kids about staying out of trouble. I hope it's true, I really do, but that drawing is still in a folder at the back of my closet. I haven't thrown it away. I don't know if I ever will.